Welcome to Hood Champion Boxing and Sports. In boxing, you find a way to win, you find a way to lose. So, people, just hold our horses and not take it to the stupid. You got all these rumors floating around that Errol Spence relieved Derrick James of his training duties. Let me tell you something. The accomplishments of Errol Spence Jr. and his trainer, Derrick James, run deep. So don't believe this crap that you see floating around out here on Twitter, all these videos being made. There's no truth to it. And even if Errol Spence was to come out and say that he's separating with Derrick James, I would say, okay, we heard it from the horse's mouth, but I just think it'll be a short-lived separation. You just can't make me believe that a guy like Errol Spence would walk away from Derrick James because of the loss to Terrence Crawford. And you guys all should know better. Whether you're a Errol Spence fan or Terrence Crawford fan, you should know better. Errol Spence is loyal. You know what I'm saying? If he's loyal to the fans and will give him a fight at 147, a weight that he knew he probably shouldn't have been at, right? You think he's going to sit here, man, and not be loyal to someone he actually knows and who put him in this position he's in, which is Derrick James? I tell you, man, be careful of this crap that you're reading on social media. Remember, as an amateur, man, Spence was a 3-time national champion in the welterweight division, so he's a natural welterweight. And he won national Golden Gloves and the Police Athletic League titles under the tutelage of Derrick James. He also competed for the U.S. Olympic team, man. You know, he ended up having some struggles in the quarterfinals in the 2012 London Olympics, but he was already on everyone's radar. Since turning pro, you know where Errol Spence is at. He only has one loss. So, 25, 27, 28 plus fights. You can't sit here and think just because of one hiccup now he's gonna walk away from Derrick James. He will never walk away from Derrick James. He's loyal to Derrick James, just like Derrick James is loyal to him. Same way you see Danny Garcia with his dad. He ain't leaving him. Teofimo with his dad, he ain't leaving him. Floyd Mayweather with Roger and his dad. They're not doing that. They're not. That's not something that's going to happen. Spence is a box office draw, man. You already know, fighting out there in Texas. Got the Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, understands what time it is with Errol Spence and trying to put arenas, make sure you got space available for him and everything. And looking at the resume that Spence has built with Derrick James, you just can't question the chemistry that they had. You know what I'm saying? You just can't question it. It's crazy, man. Crazy. But anyway, Derrick James, obviously, he has something special about him. And he has something special in Errol Spence. We understand what they went up against Terrence Crawford, no matter what people feel, was the reason for the loss. It wasn't a good enough reason, in my opinion, for Errol Spence to even think about leaving Derrick James. Okay? Let me tell you something. It's just some people you just can't beat. Okay? So it is what it is. All right? But I will say this. There was a time when Errol Spence was an amateur that Derrick James would tell him to do something, and Errol Spence would just do it, but he wouldn't say anything. He wouldn't respond to Derrick James. Errol Spence didn't really like to talk a lot. He said that he was really, really introverted, which some people say Errol Spence is stubborn. He likes to do things on his own. He doesn't want to listen to anyone. But Errol Spence went on record and talked about how introverted he was and can be. And he said if he doesn't really know people or he's not in the mood, he's not going to really talk to you. And that created a lack of communication. But that didn't stop him from going 64-13 as an amateur and making the Olympic team. So since him being an amateur, he's learned to speak extensively to Derrick James. So at the end of the day, don't expect him to become introverted again, to distance himself from Derrick James. It's not going to happen. The relationship between Errol Spence and Derrick James is probably best described really as like a father-son, older brother, younger brother. And they just seem to be, in my opinion, like very joyous together, man, and combustible. And Derrick James is Errol Spence's first line of defense. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he could have probably stopped that fight a little bit earlier. He could have stopped that fight with Terrence Crawford earlier than the referee had to jump in to stop it. But at the end of the day, I think Spence trusts James to protect him. I think Derrick James knows what Spence can and can't handle. And I think he's going to do what's necessary to make sure the best Errol Spence gets the best things that he needs going into a fight. But that being said, Errol Spence and Derrick James, they're still together. Errol Spence didn't fire that man. But if he did, we'll find out, won't we? But as of right now, unless it comes from the horse's mouth, I ain't believing it. And even if it does, I think it'll be a short-lived separation because it just ain't worth it. That being said, y'all keep cool. Shout out to the veterans, all 7 continents, in the breeze.